President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet.
Right now, Russia, it's weaponizing Melania's past. I don't know if you know this, but on Russian TV, they frequently show Melania nude in order to mock Donald Trump. So they show all these photos of Melania. By the way, Melania's previously made posts about how proud she is of her nudes, but
at Mar-a-Lago, it's an Easter miracle. The marriage has risen, or the check has cleared. As you can see, their table was roped off, but it's unclear if that was to keep people away or to prevent her from fleeing. Well, there she is, Melania Trump. Well, obviously, she was ahead of her time. She beat Shape of Water by a decade. Fun fact, Albert Einstein got his green card with a very similar photo shoot.
I have watched presidents spar with comedians and actors for years, but the Arnold saga is the one that still makes me grin. Because Arnold did not just clap back, he did it on camera, in real time, with the kind of showman's precision that turns a politician's pride into a prop, and every single time he landed one of those clean shots, the 47th president did exactly what he always does. He lost it, he posted, he called shows a disaster, he rewrote the truth in public, and then hit send again.
Instead of waiting in line like everybody else, in 2001, while she was dating Donald Trump, she received a so-called Einstein visa. Possibly. Because when she told her friends she was dating Donald Trump, they said, "Way to go, Einstein."
Hey Donald, I have a great idea. Why don't we switch jobs? You take over TV because you're such an expert in ratings, and I take over your job. And then people can finally sleep comfortably again.
If you live for the nights when pop culture picks up a constitutional fork and pokes power right in the ego, this is your highlight reel. Subscribe if you support Arnold, and let me know one quality that you like most about Arnold. Start where it went truly live. February 2017, the National Prayer Breakfast, a soft room, long tables, polite applause. It should have been an easy morning of civility. Instead, the president opened with ratings. Not policy, not unity, ratings.
Now, I grew up in Austria. I'm very aware of Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. It was a night of rampage against the Jews carried out in 1938 by the Nazi equivalent of the Proud Boys. Wednesday was the day of broken glass right here in the United States. The broken glass was in the windows of the United States Capitol. But the mob did not just shatter the windows of the Capitol, they shattered the ideals we took for granted. They did not just break down the doors of the building that housed the American democracy, they trampled the very principles on which our country was founded.
I had a successful modeling career. I came to New York 1996.
Zampoli eventually helped her get a proper work visa, and one of her first big gigs was a Camel cigarette ad shot by Ellen von Unwerth. It landed on a Times Square billboard and in Rolling Stone.
I'm proud of it. Yes, I am.
But here's where the Epstein connection starts getting interesting. Zampoli, who was shifting from fashion into real estate, still owned ID Models, an agency he later used in his partnership with the Trump Organization.
He mocked Arnold's debut season on The New Celebrity Apprentice like it was a boardroom feud. Then he added a line that floated around the ballroom like a helium balloon that had lost its string. Pray for Arnold. In any other year, that would have been a throwaway gag. In this year, it detonated, because a sitting president had just turned a sacred podium into a Nielsen roast, and the man he roasted was a very famous person with a very fast camera.
President Trump, I just saw your press conference with President Putin, and it was embarrassing. I mean, you stood there like a little wet noodle, like a little fanboy. I mean, I was asking myself, when are you going to ask him for an autograph or for a selfie or something like that? I mean, you literally sold out at this press conference our intelligence community, our justice system, and worst of all, our country. You're the president of the United States. You shouldn't do that. I mean, what's the matter with you? I mean, whatever happened to the strong words or to the strength of Ronald Reagan when he stood there at the Berlin Wall and he said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. What happened to all that?
Arnold responded the way only Arnold can. He looked down a lens and suggested a little exchange program. You go back to television. I will take your job and go to Washington. We will compare numbers. It was not just a joke. It was a perfectly calibrated insult, wrapped in the accent America already associates with punchlines and inevitability. He even slipped in a line about working for the people. Not for a brand, not for applause, for the people. If you are counting clean hits on live or live to tape TV, that was the first one.
I want to ask you a quick question about Donald Trump because, you guys both hosted The Apprentice. You don't necessarily see eye to eye on most things. He listed his weight at 215 pounds. You are one of the foremost experts on the male physique, bodybuilding, etc. When you size him up, what would you guess that man weighs?
I don't really know how much he weighs. I can tell you one thing, that if you would ask me what should you do for fitness, I would just say run around yourself 3 times. You're going to be in great shape.
And in Europe, we are proud of bodies, no matter what size you are. And it was done as an art, as a celebration of female body.
He turned a presidential dig into a civics lesson that trended. The feud did not cool. It boiled. March 2017. Arnold announced he would not return to Apprentice. He said the baggage was too heavy. Viewers and sponsors were tapping out because the show's old host still hovered over everything as executive producer. Minutes later, the president blasted out that Arnold had not quit. He had been fired for pathetic ratings. Sad end to a great show. What made it perfect for television is that both men spoke in their own dialects.
What do you think about Donald Trump running for president again?
I think that's the past. And I think that we have to march into the future. And I think there are very talented people in this country on the Republican side that can run. So I will go, look in the future rather than in a rear mirror.
I mean, that son of a bitch, is really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a Bitch.
I mean,
Mr. Son of a Bitch.
His royal, yes. No, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this, and I hope we don't ever have another president like this again. I never even imagined there would ever be a situation in which the president of our country was celebrating hundreds of Americans losing their jobs. But somebody who took pleasure in that. That to me is the absolute opposite of what a leader of this country is supposed to be.
Arnold, measured and theatrical. The president, punchy and aggrieved. When late night rolled those clips back to back, the contrast sold itself. The joke was built into the edit. You did not need a pundit to explain who looked rattled. Arnold kept stacking moments. That spring, he turned to policy, specifically after-school programs that were on the chopping block. He did not settle for a generic plea. He challenged the president to walk into a real middle school in Washington and meet the kids who would lose help if the cuts went through.
Right now, Russia, it's weaponizing Melania's past. I don't know if you know this, but on Russian TV, they frequently show Melania nude in order to mock Donald Trump. So they show all these photos of Melania. By the way, Melania's previously made posts about how proud she is of her nudes, but
instead of waiting in line like everybody else, in 2001, while she was dating Donald Trump, she received a so-called Einstein visa. Possibly. Because when she told her friends she was dating Donald Trump, they said, "Way to go, Einstein."
This is where Arnold's showman brain meets his governor brain. He knows television is about pictures. A president in a hallway with 4th graders beats a tweet every time. The invitation was not accepted. The clip still lives. Another point on the board. Then came Charlottesville. The country was raw, and the president's both sides phrasing ricocheted everywhere. Arnold fired a short message that should be taught in Crisis Comms 101. He said the words people needed to hear.
But what are we to make of those elected officials who have enabled his lies and his treachery? I will remind them of what Teddy Roosevelt said. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president. Now you see this sword? This is the Conan sword. Now here's the thing about swords. The more you temper a sword, the stronger it becomes. The more you pound it with a hammer and then heat it in the fire and then thrust it into the cold water and then pound it again and plunge it into the fire and into the water, the more often you do that, the stronger it becomes. I'm not telling you all this because I wanted to become an expert sword maker, but our democracy is like the steel of this sword. The more it is tampered, the stronger it becomes.
There are not two sides to hatred. He did it without shouting. He did it without a thesis. He did it like a father who has had enough. Again, the reason it worked on television is simple. Brevity and moral clarity travel well. When you cut that into a montage with the presidents waffling in the same frame, you do not need a narrator to tell you who looked steady and who looked small. But the moment that still owns its corner of the internet is Helsinki 2018. The press conference with Putin left almost everyone stunned. Arnold's video arrived fast. No hedging, no Latin. He called it embarrassing.
If you are an immigrant, you're an immigrant in this country. Yeah. Did you have a visceral reaction to what they're doing, what ICE is doing when you see the videos of it?
Well, I tell you, you said that the immigrant, I'm so proud and happy that I was embraced by the American people like that. I mean, imagine I came over here with the age of 21, with absolutely nothing. And then to create a career like that. I mean, in no other country in the world could you do that. Yeah. Every single thing, if it's my bodybuilding career, if it's my acting career, becoming governor, the beautiful family that I've created, all of this is because of America.
That's true.
And so this is why I'm so happy to see firsthand that this is the greatest country in the world, and this is the land of opportunity. And I think because I'm such a proud American and a proud immigrant that came to America, I was asked to do, on July 4th, a big speech, the keynote speech at Mount Vernon, where George Washington was laid to rest, and where he lived and all that, to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America, the existence of America. And I will be doing the speech there. They asked me because I'm an immigrant, and there will be 7,000 some people there, and there will be people that will be sworn in and will become citizens that day.
That's great.
So it's really a great celebration. And this is what this is all about, is to celebrate people becoming Americans and coming to America and all that. And so I just think the world of the great kind of a history that we have with immigrants in America. But the key thing also is at the same time that we got to do things legal.
He told the president that he stood there like a little wet noodle, like a fanboy. Then he offered a script you would expect to hear from a Republican of a different decade. You are the leader of the free world. Act like it. You could feel the joke and the anger share the same line. It was silly and scathing at the same time. Within minutes, late night had it in the A block. Within hours, morning shows had it as a kicker. The White House did what it always does when a hit lands that clean. It tried to relabel the whole thing.
Our democracy has been tempered by wars, injustices, and insurrections. I believe, as shaken as we are by the events of recent days, we will come out stronger because we now understand what can be lost. We need reforms, of course, so that this never ever happens again. We need to hold accountable the people that brought us to this unforgivable point. And we need to look past ourselves, our parties and disagreements, and put our democracy first. And we need to heal together from the drama of what has just happened. We need to heal not as Republicans or as Democrats, but as Americans. Now, to begin this process, no matter what your political affiliation is, I ask you to join me in saying to President-elect Biden, President-elect Biden, we wish you great success as our president. If you succeed, our nation succeeds. We support you with all our hearts as you seek to bring us together. And to those who think they can overturn the United States Constitution, know this: you will never win. President-elect Biden, we stand with you today, tomorrow, and forever in defense of our democracy from those who would threaten it. May God bless all of you, and may God bless America.
Diplomatic success, media hysteria, pick your spin. It did not matter. The clip burned a groove. Arnold had put a cartoon image in people's heads, and the cartoon stuck. There is also the quieter TV Arnold, which I like even more. He sits in a guest chair, tells a funny story, waits for the laugh, then lowers his voice and tells you something true. This summer, he did that again. The host asked if the president likes him. Arnold looked up like the question had a sting. He joked that it was a sensitive subject. He even faked a tear.
That is the important thing, you know, so you got to do things legal, and those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart. Because when you come to America, you're a guest, and you have to behave like a guest. Like when I go to someone's house and I'm a guest, then I will do everything I can, keep things clean, and to make my bed and to do everything that is the right thing to do, rather than committing a crime or being abusive or something like that. So that doesn't really work in this country. So I think the important thing is when you become an immigrant, to think about, okay, I go to America because I want to use America for the great opportunities that America has in education, in jobs, creating a family, all of those kind of things. Then you have to think about, okay, if I get all of those things from America, then I have to give something back. You have a responsibility as an immigrant to give back to America and to pay back to America and to go and do something for your community for no money whatsoever. Give something back to after-school programs, Special Olympics, or whatever it is. Make this country a better place.
The audience laughed, but then he did the pivot he does when he wants people to stop scrolling and actually hear him. He talked about coming to this country afraid of deportation, about building a life here, about why the idea of America matters to people who chose it on purpose. He said the president may not like him. That is fine. The country is bigger than two men on television. That is what a grown-up sounds like under lights. He threw water on a feud that makes headlines and made sure the message that matters traveled farther than the meme.
Just a few hours ago, this new cover of The New Yorker came out. It's a tiny hand in a big suit, holding a TV remote. Anything
Some
you want?
guy who watches TV, I guess.
Yes.
I think.
What would you like people to take from this?
So the artist is Barry Blitt, who is a kind of a cartoonist genius, really. You know, kind of like Thomas Nast for our generation. And it captures in one image Trump's peculiar obsession with the media, particularly television, I'd have to say. And, you know, the buttons say mute, pause, stop, stifle, silence, shun, sack, banish, and so on. And it's funny, haha, but it's also very real. This is what's going on.
On the other side of the camera, the president kept giving editors the reaction beats you dream of when you are cutting a segment called Loses It. He knocked Arnold's ratings at events that had nothing to do with entertainment. He tweeted that Arnold did a really bad job as governor and an even worse job as host. He insisted Arnold had been fired. He turned Arnold into one of those evergreen targets he returns to when the day went sideways and he needed a win. Every time he did it, late night did what late night does. Roll the tape. Let the audience hear the tone. Then insert the joke that sticks like Velcro.
There's a rumor making the rounds this weekend that Trump was dead because he hadn't been in front of a camera for a few days. That's how much he's in front of a camera. When we don't see him there, we assume he must be dead. And also he has mysterious bruising on his hand, which they tried to cover up with makeup. And this cover-up's even sloppier than the Epstein one. How can anyone let him go out like this? I mean, like he was spackled. He had to have done that himself, right? Looks great, sir. No one will notice a thing. The White House claims the reason for these bruises and his big fat elephant ankles is he suffers from a condition known as chronic venous insufficiency, which in layman's terms means he's got a very small venus. He's got an insufficient...
If you need a simple way to remember why these moments worked, write this on a note card. Arnold is a showman who knows how to use silence and a single clean phrase. The president is a showman who cannot abide either. That is why the National Prayer Breakfast bit exploded. The president expected a one-day dunk on a rival host. Arnold flipped it into a question about service. That is why The Apprentice breakup did not end with a press release.
We keep thinking we've exercised all these demons, and we realize we're a long way from getting through with our original sins. It's unfortunate in our storytelling because suddenly some of the things that we were doing are much more literal than they were when we were doing it. But what was really frustrating about Charlottesville to me and watching it was these are moments when we're supposed to come together. You know, these are moments when that tiny faction that doesn't represent even 1% of the country shouldn't be given a platform, certainly by the executive office of the United States of America. There can't be a comparison between two. You can't compare Black Lives Matter, who are protesting in support of racial equality, to the KKK and the alt-right, who are protesting in support of racial supremacy. Those are not, you cannot balance those two, period. And to see that happen at the highest level in our country was very disappointing, and I think gutting for a lot of us.
The president tried to control the headline by calling it a firing. Arnold came back with a barb about fact checkers and moved on. That is why the Helsinki video landed like a slap. The president wanted the room to believe a soft press conference was strength. Arnold drew a picture so bright that people laughed even when they were angry. I have to say this plainly. The reason I describe these as destruction on live TV is not because a celebrity raised his voice. It is because he took behavior that was confusing or infuriating and converted it into something the average person could process in one watch.
Stop whining. Stop whining. Whining doesn't change anything. Every time I talk lately to environmentalists and to policy people, they said to me, Mrs. Arnold, I mean, what is the point of fighting for a clean environment when the government of the United States says climate change is a hoax and coal and oil is the future? When the politicians in Washington don't care. You know what I say to them? Exactly what I said in my movie Kindergarten Cop to the kids. Stop whining. Stop whining. Whining doesn't change anything. Whining doesn't build anything. You can't just sit around and make excuses because one guy in a very nice White House on Pennsylvania Avenue doesn't agree with you. I know all of you are thinking now, I hope, that Arnold attacks Trump and says some really terrible things about Trump, right? But that's not my style. First of all, I have a rule. I do not criticize a president outside of our borders. No matter who it is, no matter what party he belongs to or she belongs to. Second of all, I know that the people are sick and tired of the whining and the complaining and the doom and gloom. They want heroes. They want more complaints. That's not what we want, and that's not what we need. We have to win the people over. And the only way we win the people's hearts and minds is by showing them action that makes their lives better. And I'm not talking about making their lives better in 20 years from now, but I'm talking about making their lives better now.
Pray for Arnold, switch jobs, and compare numbers. There are not two sides to hatred, little wet noodle. None of those lines require a single hyperlink to make sense. None of them age out. You can play them cold to someone who missed the week and they will still nod. That is hard to do. Actors try it every day. Most fail. Arnold succeeded because he kept it simple and he kept it human. There is also a civic heartbeat under all the showmanship. Arnold's best TV moments always end up pointing away from himself and toward the country.
But Epstein also once claimed he introduced her to Trump, suggesting he knew Melania first. For the record, Zampoli denied that in 2019. And Melania? She tells a version that doesn't involve either of them. At that now infamous party, Trump was still married to Marla Maples and showed up with another woman, Norwegian heiress Selena Middelfart. But that didn't stop him from asking Melania for her number.
So he asked me for the number, and I said, I will not give you my number. So if you give me your numbers, I will call you.
So what does Epstein have to do with all this? According to Michael Wolff, the journalist behind Fire and Fury, quite a bit. In a podcast interview, he claimed Melania was very involved in Epstein's social circle. Wolff even says Melania was introduced to Trump through mutual ties to a modeling agency that both Trump and Epstein were connected with. Epstein knew her well, Wolff stated. Politico has also pointed out that Zampoli, The same man who brought Melania to the US had ties to both Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And here's a detail that raises eyebrows.
Visit a middle school and meet the kids before you cut their help. Say plainly that Nazis are not just another side. Stand next to a foreign leader and remember that your words do not belong to you. They belong to the office you are borrowing. I am not trying to turn him into a saint. I am telling you why the audience keeps clapping when his clips roll. They hear a man who likes applause and knows exactly how to get it, but also remembers why he came to the United States in the first place. It is a rare mix. It reads as authentic on camera. It makes the other guy look smaller when he spins.
And I tell them, I said, hey, stop whining. What do? I said, we all have a responsibility. What do you think, the action comes only for the whole world out of Washington, the White House? No. I said, most of the action is happening on a local level and on a state level.
So people should just ignore Donald Trump then when he talks about the environment?
I wouldn't say ignore it. I think you can be aware of it. You have to be aware of your obstacles, but you should not go and use them as an excuse, is my point. You know, you got to go all out. Do I have a vision? I mean, imagine that when I was 15 years old, my vision was to go to America and to be a bodybuilding champion and to get into acting and to do big movies, Hollywood movies. What do you think the obstacles there were? Endless amount of obstacles. And it was very difficult. It was a grind. So did I surrender? Did I go and whine? No. I just said, okay, here are the obstacles. This is what I have to overcome. And I made it.
If you want more breakdowns like this, with the clips stacked in the right order so the story tells itself, tap like and tell me which Arnold moment you want next. The Switch Jobs Dare, the After School Challenge, the Little Wet Noodle Lightning Strike. I will pull the cleanest cuts and stitch them tight for the next episode. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to America Facticity for more breaking news.